Hey friends, it's Lauren Gaines. Welcome to Fully Immersed. Let's dive in. Hey friends, welcome back. Today we are talking all about the 90s butter mom era. Have you heard of that trend? If you've been on social media, I'm sure you've seen it before, but we are diving into this because this is something I saw and it really resonated with me. And then it brought all these questions to my head of like, how do you actually do this? Because we no longer live in the 90s. So first, what is the 90s butter mom era? I think this is a lot of millennials going back to that nostalgia of growing up in the 90s. I grew up in the 90s. What about you? And just that carefree roaming the neighborhood. And, if you saw bikes in the front lawn, you knew your friends were all there and you would go and you'd play flashlight tag. And we were the last generation to really grow up without screens. Isn't that amazing? We didn't have social media. We didn't have cell phones. AIM came out when I was like in 6th grade and I would text and chat people on the computer, but it took forever to dial up. And it was just honestly probably hilarious conversations. But people are wanting to get back to that nostalgia of the 90s where you just kind of roamed the neighborhood. We were literally gone all day. I was on the summer swim team, but then we would just stay and hang out at the pool till 5 p.m. and ride our bikes home and quick eat dinner and then go back out, search the neighborhood, look for whoever had all the bikes in their front lawn and stop there because we knew we were playing flashlight tag until it got dark. And it was really an amazing childhood, right? Such a fun way to grow up where there was a lot of independence. There was a lot of roaming and just hanging out with your friends and having a good time and being creative. And I think people are wanting to get back to that, which in one way is kind of encouraging to me that I think parents are waking up from this performance parenting and wanting something different and realizing this busy schedule, this constant, I need to get a private coach so my son can hit a home run, or I need to get a coach so my daughter can make her volleyball serve and make the volleyball team. Just, it's exhausting. And I think parents are starting to realize I don't want to live that way. Modern day parenting is not fitting me and is not helping my nervous system and is not helping my mental health. And what is it doing to my kids? Because they're just addicted to screens. They're not creative anymore. They don't know how to problem solve. And so we're wanting to get back to that 90s summer. But how do we actually do that? Because you may be thinking, Lauren, it's not the 90s anymore. And I realize that. And I think this is the tension we sit in as parents because we want that. We want our kids to be free range, to roam and to learn independence and problem solving and conflict resolution. But the world feels scary. And what if there are people lurking in our neighborhood? Or what if our kids see pornography on the neighbor's phone because they give a cell phone to their kids when they're 8 and we don't until they're 16? How do we navigate that? Because the Bible talks about bad company corrupting good character. And so do you let your kid just roam the neighborhood with whoever because it's a playmate and then they can have that 90s butter mom summer? Or do we try to be protective? Because I think the other side of that, it can quickly turn into helicopter parenting. And I'll be honest, I probably tend more toward that than other types of parenting, but I know I don't want that. But yet it feels really hard for me sometimes to let go of that control and that trust. And so this is hopefully what we're going to get to in this episode, talking about this tension and realistically, I have 7 things that we can do this summer to find that independence, that freedom, that relaxation of a slow summer, not constant camps, not constant, we need to go here and like the school year, it's going to feel different than the school year. The school year is when we have booked schedules, but summer should be a time of relaxation and fun. So stick with me because I have 7 concrete ways that you can get this, whether you're homeschool, whether your kids go to public school, and to help you create that balance so that kids aren't just gone for 12 hours in the day and the world is shaping them and you don't know what they're teaching them. Because we don't want the world to teach our kids. We want to. But at the same time, we want permission to slow down. We want to stop overthinking every decision. We want to stop booking our entire summer with camps so our kids don't say those dreaded words of I'm bored. So the goal isn't to recreate the 1990s. Like we can't go back in time. It was not a perfect time. There were still things that were not good. But we want to recreate some of the outcomes of the 90s, which included independence, problem solving, adventure, unstructured play, boredom, creativity, responsibility, and friendship without adult micromanagement. And I think this is really important. And again, I think homeschoolers can tend toward that more helicopter mom, which is the opposite of the 90s butter moms. We want that 90s butter mom, but then we're like, oh, but then I don't have control. And then I'm just like kind of letting kids do things. And that feels scary too. So let me know in the comments below right now what kind of mom you are and what kind of mom you want to be, because I would love to hear from you. One last thing I want to say about this 90s butter mom era before we move to really practical steps on how you can achieve this is we need to be careful that we don't take this aesthetic, this trend, and turn it into modern parenting, right? Like real butter is wonderful. Homemade sourdough is wonderful. Real food, putting your feet in the grass, reading a book with the sun and the birds chirping around you, like is all wonderful. But sometimes we take that feel then and we maximize it and we make it really fast. And like we try to cram it all in. And it's like, okay, now I need to make every single thing from scratch, including mayo. And like, if you do that, that is great. That is wonderful. But I think we need to be careful that we don't take this 90s feel that we're going for and turn it into crazy steroid modern day life where we maximize it and we guilt ourselves if we don't achieve this perfect feel. So we're not after perfection. We're not after adding more to our schedule and like feeling guilty if we don't make everything homemade. Okay. I just wanted to say that before we move on. Okay, so let's jump into these 7 things, these really practical suggestions on how to get this independence while also keeping our kids safe. So number 1 is creating more independence. And I think this is so big as I studied human development and I taught human development at a local university. Kids need freedom, but they need it in layers, not just like uncontrolled, unrestricted freedom. Like we had all these boundaries when you're a little kid and now you're 10 or 12 and you can just go do whatever you want. Like that's not good too. There needs to be a slow, developmentally appropriate release of control. And so here are some really specific examples of ways you can build independence this summer. Number 1, let your child order their own food at a restaurant. Have them look at the waitress, have them speak clearly and loudly, or even if you're at Panera or Chick-fil-A, like give them the money and tell them to go to the counter and order. Don't stand there and order for them. Send them into the grocery store with a list while you wait outside. I have not done this yet, but there is a local grocery store near us that's family owned that I would feel comfortable doing this. And I really want to challenge myself to do it this summer because, again, we want to protect our kids and keep them safe. But at some point, they're going to have to go into the real world and we need to prepare them to do that. And if we constantly do things for them because it's safer or easier or faster, they're never going to learn these skills. Another way you can build independence this summer is allow them to walk into the library, church, or sports practice alone. Let them bake cookies or bake dinner by themselves. And only be there if they need help, but let them put something in the oven. Let them ride a bike in the loop of your neighborhood. Maybe you're not going to let them free reign in your neighborhood, but you can let them go for a bike ride or a walk. Give them a walkie-talkie. If your kids don't have a phone, they have walkie-talkies that have like 3-mile radiuses so that they learn they can be outside by themselves and they could be okay. Have them make phone calls by themselves or call a grandparent by themselves. And a lot of kids do this because they know how to FaceTime now. And they may seem like small things, but start to give them more responsibility. Even if you're going on vacation, let them pack their own suitcase and then you can double check it to make sure they have everything. But instead of you just controlling everything, give them some responsibility. And it's not all about just like throwing them to the wind and like you figure it out, but give them steps and some guidance and then allow them some responsibility so that they can learn they're competent and they can do hard things. Okay, number two, this is a really big thing. If you want that 90s summer, is to schedule less. This was huge in the 90s, right? This is why it felt magical, is because there was no agenda. There was no daily activities that you had to do. It was just like go roam the neighborhood and find your friends. So you could try doing this by having 2 nothing days a week where there's nothing on the calendar. There's no camps, there's no planned outings, there's no screen until the afternoon, and let your kids be bored. And I know sometimes they can be aggravating when they're bored. And they can also make huge messes when they're bored because they just start to take everything out and be creative. But you can also have structure in that. You can have boundaries that, like, okay, we had a creative morning. You got everything out. You built a fort or you set up a lemonade stand. Now it's time to clean up and then you can watch something. So give your kids some white space in their calendar. That's what the 90s were about. Doesn't mean they need to roam the neighborhood, but give them some white space at home or at a park and just allow them to come up with the activity instead of you always planning their day and planning the fun event. Let it be a nothing day. Okay, number three, and I think this is a big one. Let your home be a house where people can visit. Have like an open door policy and invite people to your house. And it doesn't need to be Pinterest worthy, right? Like you don't need to have the perfect backyard. You don't need to have like curated activities or snacks for your kids to enjoy. Just send out a text and say like, hey, this Tuesday, we don't have anything planned. If you want to drop your kids off to let them play with mine, like that would be great. And leave it at that, have the open space, have a few snacks, and that's it. Kids can be creative together. They will come up with games. They will come up with activities. And I think we often feel like we need to structure it, especially if you're a homeschooling mom. We're so used to planning activities and planning fun events that like we start to bleed that into summer too, but we don't need to do that. We can give the kids the time and the space in the summer to figure that out themselves. But have that open door policy because it is more fun when friends are there, and sometimes siblings can start to get annoyed with each other, especially by the end of summer. And so invite people over. You don't need to have a craft. You don't need to have an itinerary. Just let the kids be creative together. And this kind of goes along with number three. Number four is bring back summer traditions. And this could be something that you include neighbors in or that you just do with your family. Like every Friday night, could say, you know what, we're going to make s'mores every Friday night. And you could just invite a few people and say, hey, if you're free from 6 to 8 tonight, come on over. We're going to make s'mores. And then the adults can kind of chat and the kids can go and play. Make your house available and create traditions. And if every Friday night feels like, oh my gosh, Lauren, you don't understand my life. Like I'm just trying to survive and you want me to plan these traditions, do it once a month. Once a month. Look at the beginning of the month. It's the beginning of June. Find a date in June where you can invite a few people over and have a kickball game or have a barbecue or have a movie night. It doesn't need to be complicated. It could be every Friday night, we have a family movie night, or every Saturday morning, we go for a bike ride in our neighborhood. And start to create some traditions and things that your kids really look forward to because that's what they're going to remember. They're going to remember that time you spent together with them and the fun adventures you had. It could be, hey, every Saturday morning, we're going to try a new place to go for a hike, or we're going to take a bike ride, or we're going to go to a pond and fish. It doesn't need to be complicated, but it just needs to be intentional. Okay, so number one was create more independence. Give your kids opportunity to be independent. Number two was to schedule less. Build in some of those nothing days so your kids learn how to deal with freedom. We are just constantly being inundated with information and we're so used to being stimulated that we don't know how to be still. And that is such an amazing gift and skill and something that the Bible tells us to be still and know. So allow your kids that opportunity to learn that. Number three, have an open door policy. Invite people over to your house. And again, your house doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need to have the best backyard. It just needs to be a fun activity where you gather together. And it could be simple, like we're going to make s'mores tonight and have a time limit. Number four was to bring back some of those summer traditions and things that your kids look forward to. Number five is letting them solve their problems by themselves. And this kind of goes along with some of that independence. But I think as parents, we're quick to jump in and be like, here, let me help you, because we usually do know better and we know a faster, more efficient way. And our kids may also not have endurance and not like the process. My husband and I were talking about this over the weekend. Kids hate process. Like they don't want it, they just want the end result. And I don't think that this is something that is new. It's just a product of our society in today's world. Everything is fast. Everything is quick. I can just order groceries and they come to my house. I can just click something and in 2 days, Amazon will have it at my front door. We never had that growing up, right? Like there weren't even shows that we could watch on demand. It was like we had to wait for that show to come on once a week. But now everything is like you can binge watch the entire series in one night. And so as a society and culture, we're just used to getting things fast and quick, and everything is about efficiency. And then in that, we've lost the art of patience, of working through something difficult, of coming against resistance and seeing the process and working toward the outcome. So instead of jumping in right away, even if your kids are like, I'm bored, don't offer them a suggestion. Just say, you'll think of something. And they will. It may take time and there may be moaning, but mama, you can ignore it. You can tune it out. You don't need to be the entertainer and the sole problem solver. That was something that 90s moms got right. They were not constantly creating crafts and activities and scenarios for their kids. They were letting the kids do it themselves. That 90s summer feel wasn't a freedom to do whatever, but it was a freedom from adult management. Does that make sense? Okay, number 6, create adventure days. So you're going to have some days that are nothing days and your kids are going to say they're bored and you're going to have a plan and you're going to know figure it out. I'm sure you'll find something to do that you may have to just remind them. You're not going to be their sole entertainer and that's okay. But maybe once a week or once a month, come up with some kind of creative adventure day, whether that's and let your kids be a part of that process. Going to a creek and exploring something, or mapping out the neighborhood, or taking photographs of 10 interesting things and creating a scrapbook, building a fort, having a picnic with friends. It could be anything in your neighborhood or in your town that you want to try and do, but the assignment should be theirs. Let them plan it. Say, okay, this week on Tuesday, we don't have anything. I want you to come up with a few things that you think we could do. So let the planning be theirs. And let it be a fun time where maybe you are involved that day. Other days you're letting them kind of come up with activity, but that day, maybe you're going to be the chauffeur or you're going to help make the picnic. But let them come up with the idea so that they have some stake in the game. Okay, and lastly, number 7, remember what you're actually after. I think we can get really caught up with keeping up with the Joneses and feeling like, oh my gosh, if I don't have my kids signed up for basketball camp this summer or soccer camp, they're not going to make the team. They're going to be behind. Relax a little bit and remember what your long-term vision is. And maybe that is to get your kid a scholarship to a Division I school. And if that's you and you feel like God has called you to that, I'm not going to tell you to do otherwise. Go for it. But if your goal is just to create a childhood where your kids can grow and learn about Jesus and grow into the person that God has called them to be using the gifts, talents, and abilities He's placed in their life, then make sure your schedule matches that vision of what you have. And remember that your kids don't need constant entertainment. They can handle boredom. And maybe you want them to know how to make friends. So maybe you join a community pool and you go and you're like, this is my spot. I'm sitting here and reading my book while you guys can just go and talk to other kids and make friends, or go to the park. And again, you don't need to be playing the game with them or initiating the kickball game. You could just bring a book and say, hey, I'm going to be sitting on this bench. You can go and have fun. Let them learn some of these skills of how to make friends, how to communicate, how to have a little adventure on their own while you're still nearby. So they're safe, but you're not in control of it. It's possible to have a summer where your kids are safe, but they still have that 90s feel where there's more roaming, less screens, less chat GPT. You can do this. So let me know in the comments below, is this something that's resonated with you? Is this something that is difficult for you to do? Maybe you're in a season of life where you're like, Lauren, you don't even understand. I am just trying to get through the day. I can't do any of this. Even having a simple picnic or barbecue feels way too overwhelming for me. I want you to know that God sees you. He knows. Pray to Him and ask God, in this season, what's the best way for me to nurture my family, myself, and my children? And ask the Holy Spirit to give you ideas. I gave you 7 things, but these are not like set in stone. And this is not the only way to create a good summer childhood memory vacation time with your kids. There's other ways to do it. And the Holy Spirit will give you that insight for your family. You just need to ask. Seek, ask, and you will find. Okay, so I'm going to end us in prayer, but before I do that, I just would love if you would share this video with a friend and make sure you like the video and subscribe so that people can hear the good news that it's possible to have a safe, wholesome summer while also letting go of some of that control and all of that stress and manipulation with the schedule. You can do both things. So please share this with a friend who needs to hear it and make sure you tune in. Every other week, I come out with a new podcast episode. So, all right, I'm going to end us in prayer. God, I just thank you for who you are. I thank you that you are such a loving father, a father who delights in every detail of our lives. And God, I just pray for the moms listening now who want the best for their kids and sometimes don't know the best way to get that. And it feels overwhelming and the world feels scary and they want to create this magical summer. God, I pray that you would give them specific insight, wisdom, direction, understanding on how to do that for their unique family, and that they would stop comparing themselves to others, but know, God, that when they are in your will, they're in the right place. Just dance over them, and may they feel that today. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, friends, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Again, let me know, which type of mom are you? Do you lean more toward helicopter mom? Are you one of those carefree 90s butters moms or something else? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Thanks for listening to Fully Immersed with Lauren Gaines. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe and share it with a friend who might need these words today. Until next time, stay fully immersed in His presence.